we have finally seen Iditarod Rule 35 as written by the Iditarod, and it's no longer hearsay. It's not what's been posted by news outlets or whatever else. We can actually go to the website and see the Iditarod Rule, and it's better in some ways but troubling in other ways. And I've been speaking with many mushers, and we have decided to put forth a petition to the ITC, Iditarod Trail Committee Board of Directors, requesting that they revisit this topic prior to June 25th, which is the first day of signups for the 2017 Iditarod. Our hope is to adjust this rule to make it more effective as a safety aspect or asset for the Iditarod, while not compromising the integrity and the history and the nature of the race by having outside communication and being able to call home, get coaching, etc. So I just want to introduce to you kind of what the petition is looking at and why we're doing this. I'm planning on doing a short series of videos touching on some key points here and why we decided that these were the important points and what we hope will be adjusted in the Iditarod board. So first of all, we kind of held back to wait to see what the Iditarod actually put forward, and the rule that they put out there allows two-way communication devices, allows the mushers to use two-way communication devices, which is a crucial point. Not just carry them, but actually use them. It does not allow coaching, aka calling home or calling anybody and finding out where other mushers are, what the trail is like ahead of you, or what's happening behind you, or any time that you could get information out on the trail that you couldn't, or that you could get in the checkpoint, but now you're out on the trail in the middle of nowhere. You can call home, get that information. It specifically says this two-way communication is not allowed for coaching. However, there's no way to tell whether or not mushers are using it in that way. If a musher has a phone with them and you see somebody mushing down the trail chatting on the phone, we don't know who they're talking to, we don't know what they're talking about, and the general feeling I've gotten from the mushing community is that people think that this will be abused, that people will use it to get outside information, and a lot of the mushers' fear is that if I don't use it illegally, am I going to be at a disadvantage to my competitors who do not have the same level of integrity? And that's a really kind of a resounding fact that we're getting back from everybody, and it's a very concerning thing to the mushers themselves. Me personally, I feel like one of the most damaging things about this aspect is the level of suspicion. Are we constantly looking at each other, each of the mushers or the fans watching mushers, saying, yeah, they're doing well, oh, that was a really good move, oh, I bet they got coaching, I bet they didn't decide to do that on their own, I bet somebody called them and told them what was going on. And I don't think we want that level of suspicion around the race and around this event. Also, the rule states that you cannot use your phone for media purposes. You can't call the news outlets, you can't post on Facebook from your phone or from your two-way communication device. And, you know, I think that's a good rule. I think it's an aspect that needs to be in there. But the question that remains is, when you have a rule that says that you can have and use a two-way communication device, but you can't use it for coaching, you can't use it for media, and the only acceptable time to use it is in a safety situation, what other scenario is there? What could you possibly talk about that wouldn't be coaching? Even if I call my great-great-grandma in Texas who knows nothing about the Iditarod and talk for 2 hours, isn't that outside assistance? Isn't that helping me stay awake? Isn't that helping me, you know, deal with my fears or problems? Isn't it keeping me motivated? And I don't see how you could possibly use a phone that isn't going to be considered coaching if it's not an emergency situation. So we want to find a way to have this rule. I think we should have two-way communication for the safety aspects. Clearly that's what the mushers voiced at the last IOFC meeting, the Iditarod Official Finishers Club. They wanted to have a safety aspect, but they also wanted it to be regulated. So I guess the 4 key points that we have on this petition that we're putting forward is that the use of two-way communication only be used in emergency situations. There is no but. There is no chat away to your friends and, oh yeah, you'll have it if there's an emergency. An emergency is the only reason this should be used. The second point is some method, and there are many ways, that the ITC can accurately determine whether or not a musher has used a two-way communication device for purposes other than an emergency. And this is what really differs from the rule that we have right now, is right now the Iditarod has no way to determine whether or not you're using the phone illegally, which pretty much gives you an open, if you want to cheat, you can. They're not going to catch you. That's like saying we're going to have a drug testing program or a drug testing rule, but we're not actually going to test. Don't use drugs, we're just going to take your word for it. Otherwise, it's like, football. We're all going to go out there and play on the field, but we're not going to put referees on the field. Well, is that really fair? Is that really the rules that we want? The third point is that mushers have the choice to carry a two-way communication device, but not required to. This is currently in the rules, but I want to keep it in the rules that we have the choice to. I have no intent of carrying a phone with me. I do not want suspicion about using a phone. I don't want to have anything to do with the phone. However, if people feel for safety reasons that they want to have it, I think they should be able to have it if we can manage it and if we can make sure it's not being used in a negative way. Lastly, we're requesting that the ITC creates a 24-hour hotline, essentially, that could field emergency calls and direct those calls. And this goes back to what the rule has right now. It says we can carry a two-way communication device and we can use it, but who are you supposed to call at 3 in the morning if you're getting attacked by a snow machine? I mean, who's going to help you? So we need to have somebody to call. We need to have an Iditarod hotline that we can call. They're set up to field our questions. They have the call list to contact key individuals in any checkpoint. We are working in a very remote locations, and we need to know who to contact there. That way we can actually speed up assistance. If you are actually having a problem with a snow machine on the trail, this will be the quickest way to get help. Not me calling and hoping that somebody's awake and then that they can get a hold of somebody within the Iditarod. If we have somebody at this hotline number, the only people who have this number is a musher. So if that phone rings, they know there's a problem. And they can get a veterinarian on the line. If I have a dog with a health problem and I'm 100 miles from anywhere, I could potentially use that to get veterinary advice and hopefully save the dog's life. If there's a incident of any sort, perhaps you're mushing along and you see another musher's team that doesn't have the musher on it. We can more quickly reconnect the team with the musher, or if we're going along and you see a musher that's walking down the trail, we can catch that dog team hopefully sooner, hopefully before there's a problem. So those are really the 4 key points that we're trying to get adjusted. I feel like the rule was done with, I hope, good intent to improve safety, but I feel like the rule is poorly done. It leaves open a lot of problems. Yes, we added two-way communication devices. Yes, there's a slightly improved safety aspect, but not done well, I don't think. And it also opens up a huge can of worms with illegal use of the phones, essentially. So the 4 points is use of the two-way communication device can only be used in emergency situations. Make sure we have a method by which the ITC can accurately determine whether or not the musher has used the two-way communication device illegally. Make sure the mushers still have the choice whether or not they want to carry it, and that the ITC create a 24-hour hotline that we can call in the event of an emergency. The other thing that we're requesting is that the board of directors reconvene, reconsider, and hopefully rewrite this rule prior to June 25th, which is the first day of signups for the 2017 Iditarod. Once the first musher signs up, this is a binding contract, and when we sign up for the race, the rules that are listed at that time are really non-negotiable, so this needs to be changed promptly. I'm going to do a series of videos. We're going to touch on these points a little more thoroughly. I know some of you are wondering, how would you have a two-way communication device that could be monitored, that you could see if they used it illegally, and I think we do have methods. A lot of mushers have been talking about this, and I've seen some really good ideas thrown around, and they're inexpensive and solve the problem. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Stay tuned for those, but please check the link beneath this post. That's where the petition is. You can read the petition. You can read the preamble that explains a little more about why we're doing this petition and what we're hoping to accomplish. And if you agree, I hope that you would go ahead and sign your name to that petition. Thank you very much.